Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'll be reviewing a professional game that I thought had some very interesting decisions made by both players. And I figured it would be a good and enjoyable game to go over. The two professionals in this game are Shin Jinseo, who is white, versus Yang Dingxin. Both top 10 players. I believe Shin is number 1 as of this video, and Yang is number 6. And I would call them, they're both very young players. I would call them rising stars, but since they're already like top 10 in the world, they're already, stars. And since they're so young, they're going to have many championships, I'm sure, because the way they play is very high level, like super high level. I believe Shin just came off of a 28 game winning streak in professional games, which is like unheard of. So they're both very strong players. This game is played on FoxGo server. I believe 1 minute main time with 3 15-second overtime. As I said, Shin is white in the game and Yang is black. So let's get into it. Standard opening. Double 4/4s for both players. Black approaches and white approaches. And the reason why white approaches is because it's to set up kind of a defense against a double approach. This is very common. And usually white has to go here. And while, again, this is completely playable, from here black has many choices. Black can play this kind of move. Black can just play on this side. So, of course, white's not, in complete danger. But white can get let off the hook if white has a ladder breaker, because white can then cut. It forces black to connect, and then this is the ladder I'm talking about. This black stone will go to this approach stone that white played. Black really doesn't want to Atari this way because white will actually give up the stone and then Atari like this. And even though black gets a Ponuki, white's corner is completely settled. There's no Aji there, which means this stone that black initially approached with, which, give me 1 second, forgot to turn on coordinates, there we go. This F3 stone for black is very in danger because white is so strong now. So that's what this move is setting up, is to prevent against the double approach. But what's interesting about this position is that since black already approached here, if black ignores, black himself has also protected against the double approach. Like this, right? Because black played in the lower left. So we get this weird situation in this game where black actually ignores again and plays here. And white makes not a strange choice, but plays a pretty interesting move and then approaches the lower right. So we actually have all 4 same approach moves in every corner, which is pretty insane. And if you look at any of the stones, each color has a way to prevent the double approach, no matter which one you look at. If black double approaches here, white can attach here. If white double approaches here, black can attach here, and the ladder will go to this stone. So each corner is protected against the double approach right now, which after white goes here, which is very peculiar. You rarely see this. And it's also an interesting point because there's no 3/3 invasions, right? I've seen pro games where if the opening is 4/4 points, where they invade every 4/4 point. But in this game, they approached every 4/4 point. So no 3/3 invasions in this game. So I guess if you're not a fan of 3/3 invasions, this is the game for you. But now, of course, they've approached every corner and every double approach is protected. Black just then plays the normal backs off. And then because of that, white then follows suit and then protects down here. And then black actually does come back and double approach this side. Yeah, double approaches. And of course, white attaches on this side. Again, if black were to choose this variation, oops, sorry, this variation where black attaches, white would then be able to ladder this stone because white has this stone at O3. White would take, and you can see white's actually going to be able to develop the left side. And even though black does scoop out the corner, there's still some oddgy because there's this cut at C17. Directly, it doesn't work, but it's something black has to look out for. So yeah, this would, I guess black didn't like this. Again, this is considered Josuke, so black wants to play this, black can. But I guess black doesn't like this and plays a move I haven't seen before. Black plays this diagonal. It's a move I've seen. How do I want to do this? I'll do it here. It's a move I've seen if black doesn't have a double approach. Like I've seen this, and then white will go here, and then black can leave it, black can stand up, black has many choices. But I've never seen it when black has the double approach. So I don't know. I don't actually know the follow-ups if this move is still as good. I'm guessing because Shin didn't play this move, it's not as good, but it could just be he decided not to do it. He pincers. Black attaches. The reason why black attaches is white cannot Hane. Because of black's shape here, white cannot cut through black. White tries to cut black off, black can then cut and then capture. And it looks like black has some weaknesses, but the loss white has taken on the top is too big. And you can see white's shape here is very bad. And as opposed to going here, white would then simply block. And even though this sort of thing might happen, white does feel pretty comfortable as well. So by playing here, black ensures that he gets the corner and connects with his F17 stone. So white has to descend. Black has to descend, white has to descend. And this is a move that both players really want. Black wants it because it fixes his shape. White wants it because it fixes his shape. But the issue is black's unable to really get it at any point because this move does too much damage on the left side. And you can see black's unable to ladder these stones here. So because this cut here at C13 exists, black actually can't get a follow-up. So that's why in the game black just descends and then white cuts. Black Ataris and then connects. And now white plays here to fix his shape. White extends and then I believe black goes elsewhere. Black kicks, yeah. So what do we think of this result? Black takes the corner, but white takes a pretty strong outside. I think it's pretty even. I think it might be slightly better for black because black gets sente, but I'm sure white definitely wasn't unhappy with the result either. White has a ton of co-threats in this corner. White's outside is pretty strong, even though there's this cutting black stone. Because white is so strong on each side, this stone is pretty mitigated right now. And white was able to get an approach, or like an extension from the O17 stone. So whenever you look at any sort of game, even your own games, whenever a fight has kind of died down, right? We had this, the double approach is a fighting position. Whenever a fight kind of dies down, it's good to kind of assess who was this good for? What did both players gain? Those kind of questions you want to ask yourself. Black now kicks, and then white will actually ignore. Now white does, of course this move is huge, but it would kind of prompt black to not only pincer these two stones, but also make an extension. So white doesn't want black to do that. So white instead plays forcefully on the upper right to see if the board changes at all, to see if white's able to come back. Yeah, to see if white can come back. Double approach, attach. This one's a little strange because if black blocked this way, then when black will be able to cut and then take here, right? This is the ladder. And this feels pretty nice for black actually. But by attaching on this side, it gives white the opportunity to attach. Because black is unable to cut, because this stone will actually go to this stone at C6, so black will be unable to capture this stone here. And this is what happens, white attaches. So of course this means black is going to choose a variation that doesn't mean he can cut, but I just still find it kind of interesting. I think maybe black doesn't want to do this one. Oops, sorry. Doesn't want to do this one, or attach this side. Because even though black would be able to cut, probably feels the upper side's too good for white. But I don't know. I'm not sure. So attaches there. Has to Hane now. This is the only move. White then connects. And then black plays this move. I don't really see AIs play this move, but I know it's been played by pros in the past, before the AI revolution. Yeah, so I don't know why specifically in this case he chose this one. I don't know if it's just trendy now or it's just trying something different, but again, AIs would just say to connect and then deal with whatever happens, but because obviously with this one it leaves a very obvious cut, which white takes. Then black actually just gives up the two stones. White can then Atari, and then black extends. So pretty, again, a double approach is a kind of a fighting variation, but pretty peaceful result. This move, by the way, looks very slow, doesn't it? Not only is black super strong, so why would black want to only play a one space jump? If black ignores, white would Hane. And if black cuts, white would happily Atari down and then connect. And you can see black needs to come back, but then white gets Sente, so white has pushed black down to the third line in Sente. And you can see white chose a Joseki in the upper left that was very center oriented, and then white chose one in the upper right that was center oriented. This would just help white's total game plan. So maybe black wouldn't cut though, maybe black would Hane. If white cuts directly, black can actually Atari down, and it's very scary, or looks scary, but it's actually, black just holds up fine in this sort of variation. Black's shape gets pretty destroyed, to be honest, but his position will hold. White's unable to ladder because these stones here will go to F3. And there's no way white can win any sort of semi because black has this friendly stone at R6. Yeah, there's just, if white does this one, I'm actually not sure which one's better, this one or this one. This move leaves behind this sort of Aji, whereas this move leaves behind this sort of Aji. Maybe this one is fine. Let's just say black connects. White can go here. And I believe the life and death is good for black, but I could be incorrect. Yeah, if white Hanes directly, actually it's pretty difficult for both players, I think. Does black play there directly? Maybe white goes there first. Either way, it's pretty risky for both players. So I think, like, I don't doubt the professional's ability to read this out in 15 seconds, but it feels pretty difficult. Whereas actually white will just extend here. and force black to connect, and then white would just extend. I think would be just a much simpler way. Even though black would then be able to Atari here, white would just get a bunch of gain in the center, and black would probably get gote because black needs to protect still. So either way, whether black cuts or Hane's on top, it's a big move. Yeah, it's a very solid move for sure. Especially in a kind of blitzy situation, you don't want to leave things up for like life and death unless you can read it out fully. So just play a very simple move to settle that position so you can move on to another part of the board. So white now finally comes up, and then black does pincer. White, of course, jumps. This is the key point, looking at this shoulder hit at Q7, but also looking to either make some sort of like center base, try and get out into the center, or just make some thickness to be able to invade. And black didn't want this, so black actually. So you usually want to play here, but in this game, black actually jumps to prevent H3. But then white gets shoulder hit. Black extends up, peeps, and then jumps. This is the proper move here. Lots of players would think to go here, but after white pushes and cuts, black's has too much aji. Yeah, too much aji. If black connects, white could play a move like this, which reduces black, and it is kind of, it's pretty much sente because white is threatening to Atari here. If black extends, then white has reduced black in sente, which would then allow white to go elsewhere. So you just don't give your opponent forcing moves. So just give up a little bit. Yeah, just give up a little bit. But white plays there anyways, and black pushes and cuts. And this peeping stone is not important for black. So even though white can do this, black happily takes fourth line territory on this side. And this is a very important point. Some players might be like, oh, I gotta save everything, right? But with peeping stones, the point of peeping stones is to get a response, just see how they respond. Now, of course, in this case, white will probably, there's no really other move white can play, but this move is actually important. If black had just played here directly, when white played here and black pushed, white could just come up like this. And if black pushes, white would be able to block, and you can see white will just happily move out. But by playing here, by playing the peep first, black has already gotten white's answer. Black knows when I go here at P8, white will definitely go at P7. Whereas if you change the order of moves, here, here. For example, if you go here now, maybe white can play this kind of move to protect against it. Same thing. If you go here now, maybe white would just block here, right? So that's the point of the peep. Black gathered information, or kind of forced white to play the way that he wants him to play. But once that happens, you can give up the stone. So that's a very important thing about peeping stones. Is a lot of players will try to save their peeping stones. Even though white can double Atari and capture this one stone, white captures 1 point, and black can still save the stone. So really, it's like half a point, and black takes fourth line territory. So always remember that. Now, anything here really doesn't work directly. If white tries to come up, black can still run out, and it's white has to protect against this group and this bottom group, so it's pretty risky for white. So whenever something doesn't work locally, look to something near it, to kind of create some not so much complications, but to try to connect the two situations. So white plays here. So for example, if black stands up, this stone actually helps this, not that side, this side, this situation, right? Come down, and then connect. Right? White has now connected back. So locally, white is unable to connect just by playing a simple move, right? Atari, cut doesn't work. I guess peep or net doesn't work. So white plays, makes a situation near it to try to connect the two. You can see black just comes down. So as opposed to playing this move, you can see this way just connects black. White doesn't get that much, but by going here, white is threatening to actually take out black's area. So by cutting, white used the aji and gets a point, half a point, but by attaching here, white's using the aji to get more. So, and you can see if black hanes, Atari, now when white Ataris, extends up, white will cut. So now it's a big difference because now this group on the right is doing big damage to black's area on the upper right side. And even if black fixes here, white can Atari here now, right? This is pretty big. Again, black's not alive in the upper right, so black does need to be careful. If black goes here, though, white would be able to push, cut, and then play here. And this is a very nice sequence because this is actually protecting white's shape here. You can see, even though it looks like black can connect, this move would actually capture the whole group. It would force black to go here, but then white can Atari. Black can't connect still, so black needs to take. White now captures, which is an Atari, and then white can move out. And you can see white has connected back with the right side group, and while black has a backdoor pass anytime at R10, white's able to actually protect there, and like, let's say black does something. Playing a move like this, Atari, and then even just descend directly, is white's threatening a lot. White's threatening the upper right and the center. So that's why in the game black doesn't do that. Black doesn't hane once, but instead just takes the stone here. So you can see, in both cases, black captured the stone here. But where would you rather have the stone? In this case, black has the stone here, or white has the stone here, or here. So of course this is worth much more. So always try to think outside the box, right? Oh, nothing locally works. A cut doesn't work, a net doesn't work. So let me try to, does this move help at all? Does this kind of move help at all? Does this kind of move help at all? Does this change the local situation here? So whenever there's a situation A that doesn't work, create a situation B and try to connect the two. I learned that from Enxiang Huang at Go Congress, and ever since then, it has helped my Go so much. So I want to thank him for sharing that information and teaching me that. So that's how you want to think. So white attached here, black took. And I will say, I watched this game live, and I did think of this move. This was the move I was like, oh, that's where I would play. So getting the level up, that's for sure. White now can hane. Black hanes. White Ataris, and then connects. So now you can see white has broken into black's upper side. Black connects. And then white hanes, which I'm like, that doesn't work, does it? There's no way that works. Black Ataris, and white, of course, Atari's on the other side, and then plays here, or Atari's once. Black extends, and then Atari's, and then hanes back. So you can see white has not completely connected back, but has broken through black's barrier. So let's talk about that sequence. Was everything right there? Did everything make sense? So black could have played this ko, but there's actually not that many ko threats for black. This was the only one I could find, but this is just worth way too much in this center, because this move is sente, so black needs to live. And then white just takes the entire center, and the bottom left is still has aji. So black definitely doesn't want to play the ko. Yeah. Of course, white doesn't want to connect because black would just kill the right side. And that's why earlier white Atari'd now, because white was going to give up the stone, was planning on giving up the stone at p12. So get that move while you can. It's also interesting because can't black also Atari here? Right, and if white connects, play a move like this, which is not only threatening to cut off this group, but also surround the lower right. White can actually play this move, which will result to just the same position in the game. If black connects, then when white connects, you can see black would be giving up 2 stones as opposed to 1 stone. So if black jumps out, you know, white can play something like this and then move out to kind of protect both sides. So yeah, either way it doesn't work. Either way white read it out as well. Atari, oops, nope. White Ataris. But so far, the game still feels pretty decent for black, I would say, because white's the one under attack. So yeah, it's pretty difficult for her. And especially after black cuts, it's definitely feeling good for black. So black cuts, and white plays what feels kind of like away from the action, doesn't it? Like white just goes there, like, what's the point of that move? So the point of this move is, if white Atari's here, which would kind of be the instinctual move, or even this sort of Atari, right? Help the bottom group. No matter where white plays, black would go here. And this double peep is very severe now because black has cut. And the reason is, if white tries to block, this move is a double Atari, which is brutal. This is so painful. White needs to pick, but then black can just Atari on this side. And yeah, it's pretty tricky for white. White's basically dead on the right side. Even though white captures stone, of course, the right side is worth much more. If black does that out of order, though, like if black does this directly, white can cover, or yeah, white will cover when black Ataris. What's the difference? Is there a difference? What move did I think of for white? There's a move that I was like, oh, that's where white will play. Maybe it doesn't matter. I could have sworn that it mattered, though, the order of moves here. I guess in this case, black doesn't give up a stone here, because when you cut here directly and white has to go here, you don't need to play this move, right? This move is just kind of unnecessary. It kind of gives white an eye even. So I guess that's why. Yeah, that makes sense. Black extends up, and then white has to run out. So you can see white has 2 weak groups. So far, Shin is in some trouble here. But it is important to note that Shin did also break into black's right side as well. Plays here. Usually you would think to go here, kind of force white up, but white would feel pretty comfortable to just come down. So black takes away the base, which not only takes away white's base, but also gives black a base and points. White extends, black hanes, white has to hane on top. Black just solidly connects, white connects back. Hane, fix the cutting point. White cannot hane because this cut is just too severe. Like this, just too severe. So white just threatens to surround these 2 stones. Black plays here. White connects, and then black Ataris. And here's a very interesting point in the game, because if white connects, black will Atari here and continue to attack both sides, and both sides are pretty weak. White doesn't have an eye on the upper side, or on the right side, and white doesn't have any eyes on the lower side. And as black runs out these stones, no matter which side white plays on, it's going to hurt the other side, because whenever you have two weak groups that are separated by a direct cut here, it's never good, because no matter where you run, you're going to hurt the other side of the cut. So yeah, this wouldn't be so good for white, but these stones here are also keeping black disconnected. But in the game, white actually just Haned, which, when I was watching this game, I remember I watched this game live, and I was like, there's no way white would ignore, right? Kind of sarcastically, like, or I think I sarcastically was like, oh yeah, white will ignore, of course, you know. But of course, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way white ignores. But white actually did ignore. White Haned here, which this is with such a crazy decision from white, right? These stones are not really cunning stones, but they're worth quite a lot of points. So black Atari. So now black has made Miai between capturing this one stone or capturing these 5 stones. Hane or Atari, come back, fix, and then fix. So you can see this sort of peep on its own is not that good, but you can see black specifically played it to create a bamboo joint. So in this case, this sort of peep is good. But sometimes I'll see peeps like this, and it's like, why did you make that move? It's a code thread, it doesn't help much, those sort of things. White Hanes, black connects, and then white connects, and then black takes. So, what crazy sacrifice. But when I was thinking about it more, I'm like, actually, that's very smart. Because as I was showing, if white just connects, black Ataris, and just runs out. So it's very hard for white to catch these center stones. So really, white's saying there's no way for me to capture these stones, right? If white was able to capture these stones, then yeah, saving these 5 stones here would be pretty big, because then white would get the stones and the points in the center. But white's basically saying there's no way for me to capture these 2 stones. So really, when black takes, all black is getting is 10 points right here. And because it's Gote, it's not an exact math, but you can kind of think of it as worth half as much because it's Gote. So because black can capture these 5 stones, but it's Gote, it's only worth 5 points on the grand scheme of things. So it's only a 5-point move if you were calculating. Or if you were counting. So it's not that big, even though it feels like, right? Who would ever give up these stones? But Shin, being number 1 in the world, gives them up. No problem. So crazy decision. And because white squeezed these stones here at P9, white already got the use out of them. So whenever you already get the use out of stones, you can just give them up. So pretty crazy move there. Hane, black connects. And you can see by giving up these stones here, let's see where, yeah, white, look. White has now connected, not perfectly, but white has now created a connection between his 2 groups and is building something in the center now. And all black got was 10 points. So, and black built the bottom, but yeah, pretty crazy decision making from white. Yeah, I love it. I always tell my students, it doesn't matter if your opponent puts 100 stones of yours in Atari, always consider ignoring. And even if you play a game and it wasn't good to ignore, even just thinking about ignoring every move, that's how you'll get better. So always think about Sente. Sente is so important. So but black continues to think about breaking the connection here or coming into the center. Plays here. White fixes. black hanes. And here's a very important point. White goes here. So the question is, why doesn't white cut? Well, if white cuts, and then this move is an Atari. If white captures, this Atari is just too severe. Because this move is just too severe. Yeah, it's very, very dangerous for white. Maybe go here first. But you can see this group actually does not have a lot of liberties. So it's pretty difficult for white. And not only that, but white can fix in the center. So what's the big deal? If black can take the stones here and sente, it's a big difference endgame wise with this move at R14. And I'll show you why, because it happens in the game. Because notice by playing here, black captures these two stones, which gives him an eye here. But by playing here, black extended, white's able to go here. Because now black needs to find two eyes in the corner. And this move helps white connect R14. If black had gone here, of course it's not big now, but it is quite a lot of points. Whereas white being able to play here gets white some points on the side and forces black to live smaller in the corner. So it's a big difference. White gives up a little bit in the center to get something on the side. And that's a big trend you see in pro games. They'll give up a little bit here to gain something bigger somewhere else. And we saw that in the upper right. We saw that on the lower right with black's knight's move here at S9, or at S8. So yeah, always think about that, because black needs to come back now and live. And then of course white extends. Black Ataris, white takes, and then black extends, and white cuts. So now black has created Aji here. So let's see how black uses the Aji here. Black just comes out, or comes into white's center. White fixes here, black jumps, and white Ataris. And then black plays a clamp, which by itself doesn't look too spectacular, but it actually is setting up something very, should I say diabolical? Not that bad, because I'm sure both players saw it, but something pretty clever, I should say. Because white ignores, plays a huge move, but this allows black to play here, which again locally doesn't work. White can just Atari and white's just fine. But black pushes and then comes up. So what is black doing here? So locally, if black had pulled the stone out, it's just a ladder. It just goes to the stone. Nothing special. But by clamping, you can see it. The ladder breaker is very local. So white's unable to Atari this way, right? But of course, white can just Atari this way. And this is the game. Black goes here. White needs to fix now. And now black pushes and then cuts. So what is black setting up? So black has played all these moves to again, he has created two situations, situation A and situation B. And what are those two situations? So Atari, white plays there. I don't know if this is time Suji. It doesn't work. In most cases it works, but there's actually a nice Teisuji black has to make it not work. I think that's time Suji. Cover. Yeah, black pushes once and then descends. This is the move to make it work. Again, it looks like white can kill, but black has this nice Teisuji here to capture the S15 stone. You can see if white Ataris, black's able to descend, and you can see there's no way for white to cut off this stone here because it would be a self-Atari. And if white connects here, black can cut. And if white connects here, black can cut this way. And then it has two eyes. If white connects this way, black can push through. And again, just descend. And it's because black has this extra liberty at P14. If black didn't have this liberty here, none of this works. So, again, very good reading. There's really no other move to consider here. So because of that, white just connects, and then black can clamp and live. So now white plays a diagonal, and so this is, black plays in a way that's kind of, I wouldn't say bad, but not as direct, I should say. Black plays a cut. Again, I don't know if these are needed or just time sujis. It doesn't lose black any points, but they are co-threats. So black Atari's here and Hane's. And you can see way back when black played here, this was the situation B black was creating here with this move. This is the situation B. So this is situation A, and situation B is here, and where they connect is the teisuji. And so the teisuji that I saw was this move, because you can see it's threatening to connect here. So if white takes, black would then be able to Atari and then capture the stones here. Because of the stone here, white's unable to escape. So if white saves the stones in the center, black would then be able to play here. Maybe Atari first. And then connect. And you can see there's no way for white to save these upper stones. So I think both ways work. You can see, though, black playing this way actually gives white the choice of, black cut first, yeah, of giving up a different group of stones, and we'll see that. Hane, come back, Atari. You can see in the game, white has to do it this way. White gives up the 4 stones. So I guess it's just as big, just black captured something else. Black splits. White attaches. Here's a very important move. Black backs off a little bit. Again, instinctually, you might think to go here, but this would give white a lot of endgame possibilities. For example, white can clamp. And if black just blocks, this would be bad for black, because white can Atari, 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 and then save the 1 stone here, which this would be huge. This would be huge. Be game ending. So black needs to do this kind of move, but then white can pull back, which is still sente, because if black ignores, white can descend. So you can see white would get pretty good endgame here, would solidify the corner in sente. So black just gives up a little bit, but see, now white doesn't have as good of endgame on this side. So again, give up a little bit to gain a lot somewhere else. So again, it's a big trend you see in pro games and strong player games. Cut. White Ataris now. Make sure you get your Ataris when you can. Kind of force them into, white's planning on giving up these 4 stones, so force them to play inside their own territory while the stones are on the board. So again, very good timing here, because now white goes here. Right? If let's say white didn't do that and this sort of thing happened. If white Atari'd later, black would just capture, because black needed to capture probably anyways. But you can see by playing, and black has a point at b14. But by playing here now, you see you force black to get rid of a point, even though black needs to come back anyways. But black actually plays a pretty clever move. This one. Again, looks strange, but if black goes here, white would then get to Atari and connect. So it's better endgame wise. Whereas by playing here, when white goes here, black can actually cut. Black wouldn't go here, which is what it would look like in the game if black just had gone here. So again, little tiny things like that matter, especially when a game is pretty close. Little tiny endgame discrepancies or just efficiencies just matter so much, especially when a game is close. So white descends. This is a huge move. Huge move. Whenever you can threaten either this kind of move, when you can threaten this kind of move, or monkey jumps on either side, it's better to just descend. Some players might think to Hane, but this would give black the option of peeping first and then covering. So you can see black's able to protect both sides. And even if black just blocks, again, black would be able to protect both sides like this, right? You didn't get a monkey jump either side, but when you descend, no matter which side black blocks on, you can get a big endgame. So again, there are differences between why you should Hane and when you should descend. So always think about those kind of things. Even if you're not sure what positions are better to descend or Hane, just even if you start thinking about it, that's the correct step to getting better. It's all about starting to think like a strong player is part of the journey. And again, black plays what might look like a strange move. But again, guess what I'm going to say? Black gives up a little bit, aka 1 point, but you'll see it's a big difference. Because if black descends and white goes here, or let's talk about it this way. The in-game move. So black goes here, white can monkey jump, but black's able to protect by going here. And this is a pretty nice move because it prevents white from coming in anymore, because when black plays at M1, there's no way for white to connect back because this creates a tiger's mouth. So white needs to come back and then black can block. So this would be the best way to block in. Now, keeping that in mind, black's able to play here to keep white from coming in. If you go here, when black Hanes, white's able to play moves kind of like this, which is threatening a ko on this side. So, I don't know, let's say something. Black takes, throw in, throw in, take, and then black fixes. Notice white's able to play the same spot as the monkey jump, but because white's able to play a move like N1, notice this move doesn't work anymore. Because now, if black plays M1, it's a throw-in. So it's a big difference endgame wise. And again, the point differential for black is just 1 point. But notice by going here, there's no way for white to kind of get N1 to threaten severe monkey jump. So give up a little bit to gain more on the other side. So again, very good move here. And then white plays what looks like a small move, but really it's a very big move. Because now that white has played O2, white's actually looking at potentially, again, white's not planning on killing, but potentially attacking this bottom group. And you can see, if white turns, this sort of move not only has a big effect point-wise on the bottom, but in the corner as well. Because if white ignores, black's actually able to clamp. And if white descends, black's able to wedge and then make a ko shape here. And this ko shape is very big. It's very, very big. So usually they would answer by going here. But you can see it's a big gain for black on the bottom if it's sente. So white takes away that option by going here. So white's protecting the corner while threatening the bottom. Black attaches. And again, white plays what might look like a strange move. But black gives up a little bit, right? Black can push through and get rid of white's points a little bit more. But by giving up a little bit, this sort of move isn't sente anymore. Which means, like if white blocks, white needs to protect. And now, this sort of move here is an I for black whenever black wants. So, by giving up a little bit, white is not allowing black to get this I. Which again, white's not trying to kill, but this I, if white's trying to attack, is important. So that's the point of just giving up a little bit here. Backing off just a little bit to reduce the amount of forcing moves. Black turns. White Hanes. Black Hanes back. And then white peeps. So white actually plays, it's kind of offering a trade here, saying, okay, I'll let you capture these stones here if I can capture the bottom. Again, I'm not sure the best way maybe here, but to capture the bottom. So white's pretty confident white can kill the bottom if after this move. So I think black agrees because black answers. And very good move here. Very good move. White connects, black connects, then white plays here. Notice it might look like, oh, this actually hasn't protected this cut because that's an Atari and black needs to come back. But this is a snapback. So always look at both sides. Always look at both sides. So it's a very good move here. And black just comes back. White plays another big end game. And monkey jumps finally. And notice black's able to play L2. And it's because black gave up a little bit in the bottom right corner. White comes back, covers. White comes down. Again, I think this is a time Suchi. And then comes back here. Hane. And then plays here. Again, looks like a weird move, but black actually is unable to Hane directly. Because this is an Atari. This is an Atari, and you can see white's able to capture black. So that's why black just plays here. White pushes through. Goes here, Sente. And then comes down, again, big move point-wise. Black's able to descend, or Hane. And I bet white counted and figured, not quite where I want to be in this game, so white does block, but it allows black to play a ko. So now they play a pretty big ko, because if white loses this ko, white will potentially lose the corner, but especially these 6 stones here. But if black loses the ko, black might lose these 5 stones here, which means these 4 stones would come back to life. So it's kind of weird, because I feel like if black felt like black was behind or ahead, black would just connect, because black would continue to have Sente and it would be all good, right? So both players played like they're behind, which is kind of interesting. Again, maybe they might just be playing, maybe black just knows he has more ko threats, or I'm not sure, but comes here. Atari. And white actually ignores. Black takes, and then white connects. So this is interesting. Even though black can take here, white would just happily descend here. And even though black can capture these stones later, white's saying, I'm already alive on the upper right, and this top side is not as big as the left side, which I agree. So does black take? Yeah, black takes. White pushes down. Takes. Atari. White descends. This is looks like an innocent ko threat, but if black takes back, white can throw in. And then Atari. And if black connects, white's actually able to Hane now. And black's unable to cut white off because it would be a self-Atari, which would be pretty bad. And even though black can go here, because this move is an Atari, you can see since white saves the stone at S18, this becomes a false eye. So black only has 1 eye. So yes, this move is a ko threat, even though it just kind of looks like endgame. It is a ko threat. So black fixes, white hanes, or white takes, black takes, and then white comes down. Atari comes down, black covers. So now it's a direct ko. Yeah, direct ko. Black Atari's here, and at this point, actually, Shin resigns. And the reason why Shin resigns is I believe he thinks he doesn't have enough ko threats. Because let's see. So if white captures, if white captures, black can go here. And let's see. White has this co-threat for sure. But then I believe black will go here. And if white takes, black would then capture these stones here, which is pretty big. And white needs to come back and protect here, so yeah, it's even though white can win the ko, all right, and if white goes this way, captures this way, this moves sente, and then come back here. Yeah, it's too tough for white, even though white can win the ko. White loses too much, and so either way it's a lot lose-lose if white wins the ko. So after black, Atari's here, white resigns. But overall, really amazing game between number 1 and number 6 in the world, which is what I would expect from them. So it's very enjoyable. I actually was able to watch this game live, which made it even better because I was able to try to play along with them, you know, try to guess which moves they're thinking of. And I think I had like maybe like a 5 or 10%, you know, correct rate, which I think is pretty good. So it's definitely fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed the game too. Again, I try to pick these exciting pro games that I think not only have a lot of learning value to them, but also feature some exciting and new sort of moves, so, and decisions. So I hope you enjoyed. If you liked, or if you have any comments about the video or about anything, comments, questions, leave them in the comment section. I will read all the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.